What if the devil isn't where you think he is? Not in some distant, dark place. Not waiting in shadows far away, but closer than you imagine. What if the greatest deception isn't his power, but his ability to remain unseen? People often imagine the devil as a terrifying figure, horns, fire, and darkness. But what if that image is exactly what keeps us from recognizing how evil actually works? Because the truth is, evil rarely appears as something obvious. It hides. It blends in. It speaks through voices we trust. It operates through everyday actions. So the real question is not, is the devil real? The real question is, could he be influencing the world around us, right now? Let's explore this, using the Bible, philosophy, and the reality of daily human life. One of the most powerful ideas in both theology and philosophy is that the most effective force of influence is the one you cannot see. If people don't believe something exists, they stop resisting it. And this is exactly why many thinkers believe that the devil's greatest strategy is not fear, but invisibility. In the Bible, Satan is not described as an obvious monster walking openly among people. Instead, he is described as subtle, deceptive, and strategic. In 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, it says that Satan can appear as an angel of light. This is important. It means evil does not always look evil. It can look attractive, logical, even good. Philosophers have long explored this idea. Niccolo Machiavelli once suggested that power is most effective when it operates quietly, without drawing attention. Modern psychology also supports this. People are more easily influenced when they are unaware they are being influenced. So if evil were to exist in the world today, it would not appear in obvious forms. It would not walk around announcing itself. It would operate through thoughts, ideas, and actions that seem normal at first glance. This raises an important possibility. What if the devil's presence is not physical, but influential? Instead of asking, "Where is he?" we should be asking, where do we see patterns of deception, destruction, and manipulation? Because that is where influence lives. When we look at history, and even modern society, we see something unsettling. Some of the worst acts of evil are not committed by mysterious beings, but by ordinary humans. War, violence, betrayal, corruption. These are not abstract ideas. They are real actions carried out by people. So does that mean humans are the source of evil? Philosophically, this question has been debated for centuries. Thinkers like Thomas Hobbes believed that humans naturally lean towards selfishness and conflict. Others, like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, believed humans are naturally good but corrupted by society. The Bible presents a balanced view. It acknowledges human responsibility, but it also introduces another layer, influence. In Ephesians 6 verse 12, it says, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood." This suggests that human actions can be influenced by something beyond the physical. So instead of saying this person is the devil, a more accurate question is, what is influencing this person? This shifts the focus from identity to influence. And when you start to observe the world this way, you begin to notice something. Patterns of behavior that go beyond simple mistakes. Patterns that seem driven by deeper forces. If evil operates through influence, then there must be signs. Not dramatic, obvious signs, but subtle patterns. The Bible gives insight into this. In Galatians 5, it lists what are called the works of the flesh: hatred, jealousy, anger, division, and selfish ambition. These are not supernatural events, they are everyday behaviors. But when these behaviors become extreme, persistent, and destructive, they begin to point toward something deeper. Philosophically, repeated destructive behavior is often linked to internal disorder, a misalignment between what is good and what is chosen. So here are some signs to think about. Constant deception without remorse, manipulation of others for personal gain, enjoyment of causing harm, lack of empathy or conscience, persistent chaos and division. These are not proof of anything supernatural, but they are patterns that raise questions. Because when evil becomes normalized, it becomes invisible. Evil is not always dramatic. Sometimes it shows up in ordinary life, in small decisions, in quiet compromises, in thoughts that slowly shape actions. The Bible warns about this gradual process. In James 1 verses 14 to 15, it describes how temptation begins internally, grows, and eventually leads to destructive outcomes. Philosophers describe this as moral erosion, the slow weakening of ethical standards over time. This means influence doesn't need to be loud. It can be subtle. A lie becomes normal. Selfishness becomes acceptable. Wrong becomes justified. And over time, these small shifts shape behavior on a larger scale. So the question becomes, if evil can influence small decisions, what happens when those decisions multiply? If influence is real, why don't people see it? The answer may be simple. Because it feels normal. When something becomes common, it stops being questioned. This is known in philosophy as normalization, the process by which repeated exposure makes something acceptable. The Bible speaks about this in a different way. It talks about spiritual blindness, not physical blindness, but the inability to recognize truth. When people stop questioning what is right and wrong, they stop resisting influence. And when influence is not resisted, it grows. So is the devil living among us? Not necessarily as a visible human figure, but possibly through influence, actions, and patterns that shape the world. The Bible does not focus on identifying the devil physically. It focuses on awareness, resistance, and truth. And philosophy reminds us that influence is most powerful when it is hidden. So maybe the real danger is not what we can see, but what we fail to recognize. Because if evil can move through everyday life unnoticed, then awareness becomes the first step to overcoming it.